If you ever typed how to get my desire back into a search bar at midnight, girl, this episode is for you. The answer isn't what you've been looking for. It's who you've been missing. Sexy After 50. Improve sex and intimacy by healing your nervous system so you finally feel turned on and confident. So here's why I need you to stay with me to the very end of this episode. 3 things. If you've been waiting for the right conditions to want again, this episode explains why the conditions have to be created, not waited for. You're going to learn exactly what happens in a woman's nervous system when she steps outside of her caretaker role and into a room full of women who are finally telling the truth. And you're going to walk away with the complete plan, the weekend, the re-entry, and what to do the moment you walk back through your front door. So, girl, here's something I want you to understand before we go any further. You're not going to reclaim your desire alone. What? I know that goes against everything the self-help industry has told you, me, us. Here it is. Fix yourself first, do the inner work, get right with yourself, the rest follows. And don't get me wrong, there is truth in that. Desire is an inside job. The show is built on it. But there's a piece of the puzzle that almost never gets named. And it is this. The nervous system is a social organ. It does not regulate itself in isolation. It regulates, that co-regulation, through relationship. So if we look at James Coan's social influence, his social baseline theory, it tells us that the nervous system literally calculates threat load differently in the presence of trusted others. That makes sense. You can probably think about times in your life where that really hits. When you're with the people who are safe, the cost of being alive, physiologically, metabolically, decreases. Your body is doing less work just to hold itself together. And that freed up energy goes somewhere. It goes toward curiosity, toward aliveness, toward wanting. Jaak Panksepp's work and he's a neuroscientist, and he mapped the brain's primary emotional systems. And he identified what he calls, and we've talked about it before, that seeking system, the neurological engine behind desire, motivation, and the drive toward pleasure. It activates in conditions of safety, novelty, and social warmth. It goes quiet under threat, chronic stress, and isolation. And let's just park here a hot minute. Girl, I know if you are anything like me or like my experience in my career, we spend a lot of time in chronic stress, feeling threatened by maybe we have really hard decisions to make. Maybe our schedule is just a nightmare. And we often do this in isolation. Most of us gals over 50 have been living in the conditions that quiet, novelty, safety, social warmth. So, I want you to think about what a girl's trip is. I mean, really. It's a nervous system intervention disguised as a long weekend. You remove yourself from the role of manager, caregiver, fixer. You put yourself in a room with women who know you and are not asking anything from you. Your body costs less to run. Your seeking system comes back online. And it's not a metaphor. Oh, fur. Did my Texas come out there? It's not a metaphor at all. This is physiology. How exciting is that? I want you to understand that before we plan a single activity, the trip itself, the mere act of stepping outside your daily assignment is already beginning to do the work. So I want to walk you through the weekend. I had so much fun planning this episode and put so much time and effort into planning this weekend for you. I have I have a really cool free bonus for you to go with this. But the most important thing is that this is going to give you an opportunity to really reset and regulate and show up so much more yummy in your life. So I want to walk you through the weekend the way that I think about it, not as a series of fun activities, although there are some, but as a deliberate sequence of nervous system states. So here it is. Friday night is the erotic friendship chapter. And actually, it's so cool. It lined up so well with my new book, Are We Going to Have Sex or What? And actually, this is in chapter 39. When midlife women gather and begin telling the truth about their bodies and their desire, something measurable happens. The neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman, who we've hosted him here before through looking at his research, but he's shown that believing oneself to be alone in an intimate struggle activates a social threat response. Muscles tighten, that pelvic floor is part of that. Breathing becomes shallow, expression becomes guarded. But when another woman names your exact experience, when you hear your own secret reflected back to you without judgment, the nervous system receives different information. Breathing deepens, shoulders soften, that pelvic floor releases, shame loses its most powerful ally, and that is silence. So that is Friday night. One woman speaks honestly, and the whole room, you just watch, that whole room is going to shift. Good God, I thought it was just me. You're going to feel validated and seen and heard and safe. Then Saturday morning, which is actually chapter 33 in my book, Erotic Sovereignty. See, you wake up with no schedule to manage, no one who needs you. And for many women, that alone can be disorienting because the body has been running on the fuel of being needed for so long, it doesn't know what to do with the stillness. The sovereignty practice I walk you through in the book asks specific questions most women haven't had the time to answer. And one specifically is, what would you want if no one else's comfort was at stake? Boy, that's a big one. How many years has it been that you didn't have to consider other people's comfort when you thought of your own? So you sit with that question over coffee. You write it down. You say one line of it out loud. One line of what you've written down. Then we move the body. Saturday late morning is sensual yoga, not a workout, an inhabitation of your body. And as I write in the book, that erotic vitality emerges in a body that is inhabited rather than managed. And most women are managing theirs. They have been managing for decades. And think about what we've done to our bodies. I mean, I know I'm a survival of an eating disorder. I was at war with my body for years. I hated it. I managed it. And so I over exercised, I under ate, I had horrible thoughts about my body. I know I'm not alone in this. We have been managing our bodies in such incredibly harsh ways for so long. It's time for us to learn to inhabit and be sensual with our own bodies. When we have been in that management mode, it 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 it's not good for our body. So this Saturday morning, what you do with your friends is it's slow movement, it's breath, it's hip openers, and not spiritual concepts necessarily. The research on diaphragmatic breathing shows that slow, deep breath promotes parasympathetic activation and softens pelvic muscles and improves blood flow to your genital tissues. The body opens, the body softens. And it's not because you told it to, it's because you stopped telling it to perform. So, y'all, the hope here is that y'all can together do some really juicy yoga practices. There are kind of fun things online that you could just watch, or you find a local yoga class that you can go to that's doing the really slow, purposeful yoga movements. But you do it as a group. You giggle, you have fun, you go and move your body. And then Saturday afternoon is 2 stops. First, and this is so fun, I cannot wait to hear how this lands for you, a beginner belly dancing class. So, yeah, this is going to take a little bit of prep, but so worth it to get everything in place so you go and have fun and get re embodied with your girls. So, first, you do the beginner belly dancing class, and I want to be specific about why. Researcher Marika Tigerman at Flinders University published peer-reviewed findings in the Journal of Sex Roles confirming that belly dancing is associated with positive body image because participants focus less on external appearance and more on what their bodies can actually do. It gives women, and I'm going to quote the research directly because I think it's important. Okay, so it gives women a rare, safe, and creative opportunity to explore and express their sensual and sexual selves. The spiraling hip movements increase pelvic circulation, engage your sacral center, and y'all remember that's your chakra, that's the center of pleasure, creativity, and sexuality. And get this, I think this research is fascinating. It regulates the nervous system through rhythmic movement. 1 class, 1 afternoon, sacral center fully online. You're being creative, you're connecting with your girls, you're laughing, you're making memories. I mean, it is such a wonderful way to spend a summer weekend. And then the second stop, and this is fun. I know there's some great ones in Fort Worth. Wherever you choose to go, I'm sure there's going to be a yummy one. But I want you to find a woman-owned sexual wellness shop. And I want you to hear this the way I intended. In chapter 28 of my book, I write that by midlife, the systems that support arousal adapt in response to hormonal, neurological, and vascular shifts that accompany aging. Vibratory stimulation enhances pelvic blood flow, which supports engorgement and arousal. Supportive tools are practical collaborators with your body's current physiology, not signs of inadequacy. By no means. My hubby and I have played with these, God, since before we got married. I mean, it's fun to have some toys to play with and experiment with. And then as you age, you need different toys. And, you know, I want to remove the shame. I want you to do this with your friends. Not that you're going to do anything together that's inappropriate or doesn't feel right. What you're doing is sharing this experience together and giggling together and learning together and normalizing that a healthy sexual appetite is fine. There is no shame in this. And supporting a woman run business, how wonderful to do that. And she's probably got it set up. I know the one in Fort Worth is high scale. It's like going into a Neiman's for sex toys, if you will. It's very tasteful and well done. There's a sex therapist on hand. It's just a lovely experience to have. What a great gift for all of your team, your group, your girls, your support people to go do this together. The shop itself is something else. The conversation that happens in that space, asking questions out loud that maybe you've never asked anyone, laughing again with your women friends, making choices from curiosity rather than shame. And if you watch my TV interviews, my radio interviews, other podcasts I'm on, I speak a lot. And I hope I do it in my podcast too. I'm sure I do. But I think it's eminently important for us to get embodied. We approach things with curiosity and self-compassion. There is no room for shame. No room for shame. And a lot of us have a lot of shame we need to work through. But this is a time for you to practice doing something maybe outside your comfort zone that, how novel, how fun, maybe something you've not done since you were a teenager, to think about doing something totally new and out there. See, the conversation is its own nervous system intervention. Permission, play, erotic education, all at once, supported and co-regulated with those women that you love. And they're your people. And then Saturday evening, I have you looking at chapter 29 of my book, which is Conversations for Desire. I have 6 brave conversations in there, and hopefully you've been loosened by this weekend. And now you practice the language, because our nervous system needs all of these things. What do I actually want that I have never asked for? What have I been enduring to protect someone else's comfort? What does my body need that I haven't given it permission to need? See, you have the language now. The question is if she will use it when she gets home. And that is where we spend the last section of the podcast. I've got an activity for you. It's called the Erotic Friendship Breath. Before I take you to Sunday morning, I want to give you something to do right now. Place one hand on your chest and one on your lower belly. And it's not for meditation. This is a nervous system interruption. Let your jaw go soft. Let your shoulders drop. In fact, let's do this all together right now. Squeeze those shoulders up. Clench your teeth. Squeeze, 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 and drop. Just, oh. Notice that difference. Now think of one woman in your life whose presence makes you feel safe. Not impressive, not put together, safe. Breathe in for 4 counts, out for 6 with a noise. Ooh. Notice what happens in your chest when you hold that person in mind. Oh, sweet soul, that warmth is oxytocin. That is your social nervous system recognizing relational safety. That is the same mechanism that this girls' trip is designed to amplify over 48 hours. That is what desire needs to return. Not a pill, not a hormone panel, a nervous system that knows it is not alone. So 3 more slow breaths, and then come back. Okay. So let's move to that next section, the Sunday morning and then the reentry. So Sunday morning is all about chapter 35 in my book, the body as a temple. That is from my Boomby, my grandmother, who was born in 1913. And always, I mean, my earliest memories are her telling me my body was a temple. What a gift. Anyway, so girl, before you pack the bags and load the car, I want you to take 30 minutes alone. And I want you to write, well, first, I write in the book that that temple consciousness begins with attention. Moisturizing slowly enough to notice the texture, feeling the temperature of the water, selecting clothing for sensation rather than camouflage. I see you. I find myself doing that. Oh, these acts restore relationship with the body. Isn't that important? Desire is an inside job. It's but our nervous system needs that co-regulation and connection with others. They are not vanity. Okay? None of these moisturizing clothes. It's not about vanity. A body under constant self-scrutiny cannot access desire. A body approached with reverence can. So before anyone leaves, each woman completes 3 sentences aloud. I am done negotiating against. When I get home, I'm going to. What I know now that I didn't know Friday night is. That's it. Those 3 sentences are the bridge between the weekend and what comes next. Because here's the important part almost nobody talks about. What happens when she walks back through her front door? Most likely he's there. Maybe it's empty, the house that is. Maybe the laundry's there. The routine is there. And without a plan, a real plan, not good intentions. My daddy had a saying about that. I'm sure y'all have heard it. Is it the road to hell or paved? It's paved with good intentions. So we're going beyond good intentions. The nervous system, if we don't have a plan, the nervous system is going to default back to survival mode within 72 hours. I've watched it happen. A woman has the most clarifying weekend of her adult life, and by Wednesday, she's back to running the household in her head during sex, completely disembodied. So let me give you the 5 things that have to happen in the first week home. First, you have to have the conversation within 48 hours. Not next week, not when the timing feels right. 48 hours. Choose a moment when both of you are regulated, you and your partner. And this is not at the end of an exhausted evening and not in bed. You sit down and you tell your partner one thing you learned about yourself over the weekend. You tell him one thing you want to be different. In chapter 29 of the book, I give you the exact language. Use it. Intimacy becomes easier when guidance replaces guessing. And girl, your body registers safety when needs can be spoken clearly. Get that safety. That's root chakra working for you. And what we talk about all the time is that for desire to reappear and become vibrant again, you've got to feel safe in your body. I'm trying to give you that safety mechanism with those scripts. And then second, I want you to audit the emotional labor before resentment has time to rebuild. See, resentment accumulates in small, unaddressed moments, and the nervous system records every single one. And I write in chapter 7 that as resentment builds, the body guards, and guarded bodies struggle to arouse easily. Before the clarity of the weekend fades, look honestly at where the imbalance lives. This is not a fight. Girl, it's not a fight. This is a nervous system audit. It's connection. It's information. And third, introduce one piece of novelty this weekend. The brain habituates to the familiar. And in long-term relationships, being familiar lowers the novelty-driven dopamine that fueled early attraction. And it's normal. It's normal neurobiology. And there's no failure happening here. We're just being normal. But it does mean desire requires intentional disruption. One text you might not normally send, one shared experience that interrupts the routine. Back to the text, I have a whole episode on sexting. Check that out. But one shared experience that interrupts the routine. What maybe she brought home, what you brought home from your shopping on your terms, in your timing. And then fourth, you establish daily touch that is not goal-oriented. Couples stop touching altogether, not because affection has disappeared, but because every touch has become weighted with expectation. An unhurried hug activates that ventral vagal regulation. A sustained kiss increases oxytocin and reinforces bonding circuitry. This, girl, this is the foundation everything else is built on. 5 minutes of physical contact with no agenda. Every day. Before desire can be rebuilt, the nervous system has to stop associating touch with pressure. And then fifth, protect one weekly hour that belongs to you, only to you. And then you add another hour that belongs only to the two of you. And you need to mark it on your calendar. It can't be someday. It can't be, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. The anticipation of protected time activates reward pathways before the hour ever arrives. You're scheduling connection with self. You're scheduling connection with other. And this communicates priority in a way that routine availability never does. Here's the caveat to this. That hour is not a scheduled sex time. That's, I mean, if it happens, high five, and that's great. And if you choose to masturbate during your hour, high five, that's great. But this is not necessarily about sexual connection. It's about connection. It's about building that part of our nervous system that needs to be regulated, co-regulated with others. So here is the fun part. The trip is the beginning. The book is the map. The reentry is where the real work lives. Now, I wrote the book. I haven't talked about just a whole lot. I wrote the book to be, sit down and read. And I think he would get a lot of information from the book as well. But it's also then designed to be kind of like a cookbook. Oh, this is going on. Let me just flip to that chapter and see what's happening. If you've not grabbed it, I just really invite you to. But here's what we talked about during this episode today. We're going to land this plane. What you learned was your nervous system is a social organ and it regulates through relationship. And a girl's trip is not indulgent. Hell, this might even be a tax write-off. I am not an accountant. I'm teasing there. A girl's trip, again, it's not indulgent. It's a deliberate physiological reset, belly dancing, slow movement, honest conversation, and erotic curiosity in a community are not extras. They are the conditions that make desire possible. So, what to do with it? I created you this really fun download. It's free, it's a PDF. I call it Desire. What do I call it? Desire Girls. Good grief, Julie. I really do know. It's called Desire Girls Trip Guide. I don't know. I really like that title, but it's a girls trip guide to help get your desire back online. You go over to my website, juliemerriman.com/girls-trip. And I'm also going to have it linked in the show notes. It maps the entire weekend. And yeah, it goes chapter by chapter from the book. So hop on over to Amazon or my website. Why not grab the book and take it with you? But I've got this free PDF for you. Every somatic practice, every conversation prompt, it's all here for you. And the full 5-step re-entry plan for you when you get home to your partner. If this episode landed with you, if you heard something today that sounded like your own life, share this episode with one of your beloved friends. I think that we heal together, and I think it's an important thing to be sharing stuff with the friends that you love so much. So also, I would so appreciate if you would subscribe and follow the podcast. And thank you so much for being here. I'm going to hop out. I've bent your ear for a long time. So I'm going to say thank you so much for being here. And I will see you on Friday. Sexy After 50. Improve sex and intimacy by healing your nervous system so you finally feel turned on and confident.